from the People Not Titles podcast. Thank you so much for your support and all of your feedback on last week's podcast. So we're just going to jump right into the next one. Today we have Andres Lozano. He has an amazing life journey, from driving a French sports car around one of the 7 wonders of the world, to teaching an international superstar English, to beginning his Chicago real estate career while being an Uber driver, and becoming one of the top Latino real estate agents in the country. Without further ado, here is the People Not Titles podcast with Andres Lozano.
I just wanted to say good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the People Not Titles podcast, where we believe everyone has a story and we aim to tell it. I'm Steve Kempf, your host, and I'm truly excited today to have my new friend and Chicago real estate professional, Andres Lozano, on the program. Welcome, Andres. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So listen, Andres, I remember when I met you a couple of weeks ago, I was just fascinated with your story. And so before we get into how you do business and what your keys of success are, I would just like to get a little bit more detail.
So I was born in Cali, Colombia.
Okay.
1973.
All right.
April 19th. So this is my birthday month.
I love it.
And in 1983, when I was short of being 10 years old, my dad was the counselor of the Colombian embassy to Cairo. So we went on a diplomatic mission, which took us to Egypt from 1983 to 1988. And in 1988, at the age of 15, my dad was transferred as a diplomat to India, where I ended up finishing my high school education at a boarding school up in the Himalayas.
Wow.
And at the age...
You don't mind if I interrupt. So Andres, just let's go back to Egypt real quick. What marked in your mind your time in Egypt? What was memorable for you?
Well, when you are in a country like Egypt, from the age of 10 to the age of 15, and you are the son of a diplomat, it's mostly all fun. I got there with no knowledge of English. Like, my English was hello, goodbye, umbrella, rain, house, window, and that was it. So I had to study in a Catholic school with Italian nuns, because it was the closest language to Spanish.
That's funny.
And then it was something which I think helps you to develop yourself in life, is that you are a Spanish-speaking person as a mother language. You are studying Italian, which is different than Spanish. You are in an Arabic atmosphere, yet you're learning English to be able to cope. And it was compulsory for us to take a second language at school. So we're trying not to lose the Spanish as a mother tongue. You're exposed to Arabic. You're learning English, but it's compulsory to take a second language, which we took French.
Wow.
So it was quite a mix of things going in your head, But I think it ends up giving you the ability to adapt and to learn things like, talking about my real estate career. I became a realtor 4 years ago at the age of 43, and many people struggle, with the book, which is like a telephone directory. When you receive it, you're afraid. You're like out of school for so long. But I think that the brain was well trained. We then shifted from being in the Italian school to the British system of education, and then
in India,
in Egypt.
Oh, in Egypt. Wow.
Yeah. So we went from Colombia into an Italian school, and then into a British school. Yeah. And I think it was fascinating to be in a country that is in Africa, yet doesn't feel African because it feels more as part of the Arab world.
Yep.
And it was also a great experience traveling to Israel, driving the car, going from Suez Canal to Port of Aqaba in Jordan, and driving into Jordan, into Amman, into Petra, going to the Dead Sea and looking across from Israel into Jordan because 50% of
Yep.
it belongs to another country. um, I think it was fascinating. Going on the weekends, it was like, okay, let's go to the pyramids. But it wasn't anymore about the pyramids. It was about my father renting camels and renting horses for us to ride. And in my particular case, I've always been in love with cars, and my dad would allow me to drive the Peugeot, which was a French car in the
Wow. How
desert.
old were you? How old were you?
When I started driving by the pyramids in the desert, I was 10, 11 years old,
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Driving as 10 or 11 Peugeot at the pyramids.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay,
You
that's
know,
exciting. That's exciting. Okay, so you had an amazing time in Egypt. Sounds like a real like dream kind of life. And then you went to India,
India. Yes,
and you were there for 5 years.
we were there for 4 years, and that's where I did my 10th, my ninth and 11th, and then my ninth and 10th, then I did my board exams. Then I did my 11th and 12th at a boarding school called Lawrence Coulson-Hour in Kasoli. I happened to be a member of a very large group of people that connect with me from India that live all over the world, and I connected with a group that lives in the Chicagoland area. So we
Wow.
have a chapter of graduates from my boarding school in India.
Wow. You still stay in
And
touch with them now?
I stay in touch on a daily basis. Yes, we have a large
Wow.
group.
That's
We
amazing.
have,
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, we have a large group that belongs to the whole of United States. And then I have a separate group of the promotion of April of 1992. That was the year I graduated after doing my board exams in India for 12th grade.
Wow.
Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, so I was in a boarding school. It was co-education. That means girls and boys, and it was very interesting because it was it was also a bit of high end. You could see like sons of politicians come with bodyguards to the school. You would um, uh, we studied with I studied with the Princess of Nahan, which was a princess from a small village in India. I studied with Anisa Singh, who's the sister of a Bollywood hero,
Wow.
from the yeah. So it was quite interesting.
Wow. Okay. So then take us, what happened next after India for you?
After India, I left India short of being 19. Um, Came to Colombia, and I've always been business oriented. So I remember that I started being a business person by when we were diplomats in India. The India's economy was a very closed economy, so we would import things like Seven Up, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Fanta, and because the taxes were so high, all the leftovers that uh, all those Coca-Cola cans and Pepsi cans that were left over from the stock that my dad would import, I sold them to my friends. And with that, I went to buy jewelry and clothes, which I brought from India to Colombia, and I sold them at my sister's university, outside my sister's university. So I sort of forgot about going into college directly after um, coming out of school because I started making money, and I went back to India. Um, 3 months after I got to Colombia at the age of 19.
Okay.
I had enough money to buy myself a ticket, go back to India now, bring more garments and clothes and jewelry and sell them. And then my dad would always insist, Andres, the best thing I can leave in life for you is education. Like, it's time for you to educate yourself. And I decided to resign to doing business and committing myself to college. And
So your dad kind of interrupted your entrepreneurial aspirations and said, "Listen, I want you to get an education."
yes, we are 5 brothers and sisters, and the 5 brothers and sisters left college with no debt. My dad paid 5 colleges.
Wow.
4 of us ended up graduating after those 3 years. Well, during that time in Colombia, and this is a bit of a story that people don't believe, but in 1995, Shakira was not yes. Shakira from Colombia.
Yeah.
That was the year she became famous.
Okay.
She was my student. I became an English teacher in 1995
He
and
would have never made
96.
it. He would have never made it without you, Andres.
Yeah, I was a teacher for 1.5 years. Great experience, and I think that I had to leave. I had to drop out of college because my dad, with 5 universities and now making not U.S. dollars as a diplomat, but making a salary in pesos with a very expensive lifestyle, it became a bit difficult for him, and I had to drop out for a year and went to working. Then I said, where do I find a job? Now the competition about selling clothes or garments in Colombia had become something so common that many people were going to countries like India to bring things. So my brother Juan opens up a newspaper and says they're looking for English teachers, and I said, I've never been a teacher. Well, you just have to know English to teach English. And then I went and I had an interview, and they said, well, the advantage of our system is that we're going to teach you how to teach in the audiovisual oral communicative approach to the language. And I became a teacher, and then I had the opportunity of working in Bogota, Barranca Bermeja, which is where Ecopetrol, the petroleum company of Colombia, is, and ended up going back to college and transferred my position from being a director at the institute to being a teacher in Cali, and then moved to Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico, where I was there for 12 years. And I transferred my credits from Colombia to an American university. Puerto Rico is Commonwealth of the
Yes.
United States. So I ended up transferring my credits, and four of my brothers and sisters, except the elder sister that graduated at University of North Carolina, were all from the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico, in
Wow.
San Juan. I was there for 12 years. When I graduated, I got a job in a research and development. We were developing a technology to tenderize meat with shockwaves. And at the same time, my best friend had a roofing business, and I always saw myself with a salary and my best friend driving, top of the line Lexus, and
Yeah.
always with new clothes and traveling. And I said, no, I can't be an employee. I gotta be independent. And I
Okay.
said, hey, Pipe, can you teach me to be a roofer? And he said, yeah. And back in back in 2008, there had been a hurricane in Puerto Rico called George, and the whole island had been destroyed. This was, I remember, Bill Clinton as president. He did an awesome job. And I saw all this FEMA plastic blue covers all over the roofs. And I said, this island, which is 100 miles by 35, needs more roofers than just my friend. And you know, we had a couple of whiskeys, and I said, Pipe, teach me how to be a roofer. And then he said,
Wow.
I'll teach you how to be a roofer. And I had a company called All Island Roofing until the economic crash. After 9/11, the
Yeah.
economy in the United States crashed, and I ended up um, leaving Puerto Rico, I think in December of 2008, came to Chicago.
Oh, how long did you have your roofing company for 10 years?
I had it like for 7 or 8 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how big did it get at that
Oh,
time?
I just as like I'm being recognized as a top producer in in real estate. I always pursue to be number one, and
Okay, so
I
you were
was a
number
very
one you were the number one roofer in Puerto Rico?
at some point I got recognitions of you're the rookie of the year. You're yeah,
Wow,
correct. Yes.
that's neat. Okay, so
Um,
2008 then. So
so
how'd you wind up to Chicago?
so Puerto Rico, I had two marriages, two divorces, two daughters. One is 20 now, and the other one's 15.
Okay.
My 20-year-old is um, studying electrical engineering at UCF in Orlando, and is doing her internship with great Walsh Construction, whose headquarters are in Chicago, but she's
Yeah,
doing it. She's doing her internship in Washington, in Seattle, Washington. So she might end up,
congratulations.
she might end up in Illinois in the future, you know.
Okay,
And I said Northwestern would be a good place to do a master's degree, you know.
absolutely, no
Yeah,
question about it.
yeah. So and my younger daughter is still in high school, and she's living in Medellin, Colombia.
Okay,
Then my father, after retiring, moved to Chicago, and my brothers, after graduating from college in Puerto Rico, ended up moving to Chicago. My small sister ended up moving to Chicago, so Chicago became like the family hub. And when I came to Chicago in during the crisis, I only stayed here 3 months. I said to myself, I can't, you know, and I'm not saying anything against being a server or, you know, but I was a company owner. I said,
yeah, well, it wasn't
you
for
know,
you.
it wasn't for me. So I said to myself, I saw my brothers in crisis, everyone losing their cars, everyone losing their homes. And I said, let me knock on the door back to where I was a teacher in Colombia at the Mayer Institute. Now I'm a professional. Now I have more knowledge. Maybe they have a managerial position for me in Colombia. And I went back to Colombia for 5 years between 2009 and 2015, June, that I came back to Chicago. So my experience during those 5 years between 2009 and June of 2015 was practically as the director of the Mayer Institute, where I had been a teacher back in 1995 and 96. Um, and and I was the director in charge of Cartagena, then Cartagena and Barranquilla, then Cartagena, Barranquilla, and La Guajira, which is close to the border with Venezuela. So I traveled around the country, and it was a great experience to reconnect with my roots, you know. And then my brother Juan, who is a company owner, um, you know, he started encouraging me, Andres, become a realtor. You know, you will do good as a realtor. And I ended up
Coming back
um,
to Chicago.
coming back to Chicago, June of 2015. And then my, you know, then during my way up the scale, where, you know, the past 5 years, I've been an Uber driver, I've been a Lyft driver, I've been a busboy at Luminati's, a pizza place, you
Wow,
know,
wow.
until I was able to jumpstart my career. And I said, well, you know, if if uh, if others can be successful, so can I. The biggest challenge which I faced is that, having lived in Egypt, India, Colombia, uh, having all my graduate college friends elsewhere, having all my high school friends all scattered around the world, is
You have no warm market.
where do I get clients? You know,
Yeah.
who do I call? The little sphere of influence that my dad could have, well, Juan was living here before I was, you know, so that sphere was not my sphere. I had to practically buy my way up, you know, buying leads, driving Uber, to invest $500 a week on Zillow so that my telephone would ring while
Wow.
I was driving, answering the phone, you know, then scheduling a showing, turning off Uber, going to the showing, after the showing, turning back Uber. And that way I started my business, you know. And
Wow. So it's amazing, Andres, to me. You drove a Peugeot in the pyramids, and
yeah.
then you got to Chicago to drive an Uber while you're trying to get your real estate business going. So did you ever think so was a failure an option for you at that time, Andres? I mean,
No,
did you think? Yeah.
it's never been an option. You know, and especially when you have two daughters that economically depend on you, you can't fail. If you have to clean bathrooms, you clean bathrooms. If you have to clean floors and wash dishes, plus do Uber, plus do real estate, you know, I started looking for a place where I could have a salary on some base income, and I joined the team, and that's how I began my real estate career. Also, I
Okay.
jump started my career at a team where I received leads and I would convert them into closings.
And when did you break away from the team, stop Uber? When did you say, okay, I now have it figured out? How long ago was
So
that for you?
so 2017 was really my first year as a realtor at a team, and when I was continuously the number one top producer at the team, I said to the owner of the team, I would like to not have a base salary, but get a split. I would like you to give me 40% of whatever you make. And when he said to me, I don't have money to give you 40%, that was like, I'm closing the door and pushing you into you making your own business. And that's when I said, if you can't give me 40% of what you make, then I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And I left and went on my own and started driving Uber to be able to pay Zillow.
Wow.
I started
Wow.
driving Uber to pay leads, and I would sleep in my brother's living room in a bed, you know, so that all my other costs were limited to almost nothing. And
Keep your overhead low while you're getting started, right?
correct. And it's also give up on your personal life. You have
Yep.
no personal life. You have only you're only looking to succeed, you know, like with blinders, you know, not
Wow.
looking to the right, not looking to the left. If I was working from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., at what time was there for exercise or for private life? Nothing. It's just
Wow.
work. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you hit it? When did you hit it? When did you click over, Andre?
My first 2018 was my first year. I did $5.3 million, 26 closings,
Okay.
and and I
And how
became
did that feel for you? How did that feel? Was that like you were hitting your stride?
no, it felt great. Yet, even though I did the millions in closings, it was such an expensive way up that a very big percentage of the money was invested into publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Then whatever was left was distributed among my my expenses, like my daughters and you know,
Daughters are
keeping.
expensive. I know that, Andres.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then from 2018, I said I set myself a goal of doing double of what I did in my first year.
Mm-hmm.
So going from 5 million to 10 million, I was able to go from 5 to 9. I
Mm-hmm.
I went from 26 closings to 47 closings last year,
Wow.
which made myself be recognized as a top 250 by the Chicago Association of Realtors.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
That's amazing. From coming from the sleeping in your car to the
yeah,
top 250 in Chicago. And,
yeah.
and how is this? So, Andres, how's this year going for you?
Well, this year, I can only compare. I can only compare apples to apples. So I can only compare January through March of last year
Mm-hmm.
and January through March of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I did 6 closings in the first 3 months of the year. This year, I've done 10 closings so far.
Wow.
So I believe that what's currently happening in the world, or let's say in the real estate world,
Mm-hmm.
is going to shake the tree, and whoever does not believe in themselves is going to fall off the tree, at least for some time,
Mm-hmm.
which will, I believe, pave the way to those who will come back strong. I think that I am very confident that this will be a rubber band effect. I believe that, when you set yourself goals at the beginning of the year, I had I have goals of 104 closings this year, and I've only done 10% of that. But there's still many months ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And what you cannot do during the months of maybe May, June, which will be affected by what we're currently living, we're going to be able to make up for that with the combination of more clients for less realtors, because many of the new licensees will postpone their real estate career, and
Yep. Yeah,
those are my thoughts.
they're gonna run back to whatever safe haven they have, right?
Correct. If they were planning on leaving a job, they're sticking to their old job.
Yep.
If they were, and because it's not easy. You get your license and you say, "Oh, I'm a realtor," and you get letters from everyone, "Congratulations, we want your business." And then when you call them and you ask them, "Are you giving me business?" No, it's whatever you make.
Right.
Okay, and that's where you hit the first wall in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You expect people to call you and say, "We want your business," and then you ask them, "Are you going to give me business?" And they say, "No, it's whatever you find."
Yeah.
Okay, you know.
That's
Uh,
reality.
that's reality. Yeah, correct.
So Andres, so now, what portion of your business are you dependent on leads, and what percentage is driven by referrals, sphere of influence, that kind of thing right now?
Okay, that's a good question. In my first real estate year for Andres Lozano as a realtor, not
Yep.
depending on a team, 77% of my business came from Zillow. And a small 23% came from maybe someone you met in an open house, or
In an
or
Uber.
someone who was. I had an Uber closing. I closed with the chef at the Lou Malnati's location in Oak Park. He bought from me once I resigned as a busboy to become a realtor.
That's
You
great.
know,
Good for you.
he bought with me. That was 20%, and 20% of 26 closings means that 21 closings came from Zillow and 5 closings came from your sphere.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very. Then I became a Redfin partner. I also have Opcity, which is Realtor.com.
Right.
So I went down to approximately 40% of my business. So it dropped from 77 to 40% internet leads, and then I had past client referrals. Let's say 20% current client referrals, which is the referrals that the people you're working with who will refer you a family member or a friend while you're working with. Um, some open houses, and so it became a healthier business.
Yeah.
Healthier in the sense that now you have 26 people that closed with you in 2018. Some of them are past clients who bought with you. Now they're selling with you because they want to purchase. Now you start getting some listings. And when you get listings, you also have a sign in front of the house. So now you have another source of business. I even had a triple bubble last year, which was I had the listing. The buyer called me from the sign, so that was the dual agency, and then the seller needed to close to purchase. So we had a 10 a.m. double, dual
Same
agency,
day.
and then the closing on the new purchase the same day. So it was 3 closings in one. And originally, that was a Zillow lead, which became now a past client, which also became so when you start looking at your return on investment, you have to look towards the future too. That lead,
One deal, right? It's not just one deal.
that lead cost me $1,250 that particular month. Now, if I have had the purchase plus the sale and purchase plus a new purchase, I've had 4 transactions from that Zillow lead.
Wow. So Andrea,
So
I got it. So why do they come back to you? Why do you think your clients come back to you?
they come back to you because you look at your clients not as an economical number, but as someone that needs your guidance and your help.
Mm.
And when you put aside money, then money comes and business comes. If you're thinking about what you're going to make as a commission, as your greatest achievement of helping, your business goes south. And that's why I have always told my team that when we receive a lead and the lead wants to see a house, we don't even ask them if they are or they're not pre-approved. That is something that at my Team Lozano, will show properties without pre-approval because we want to deliver. We want the person's dream of looking at a home, even if they can't purchase that home right now. The story of my triple transaction last year was a very young girl who only had one income, and her husband had just finished studying to become a policeman. So it was only her income. She saw a $270,000 home in Franklin Park, and she closed on a $150,000 home in Bellwood. But now her husband became a policeman. Now it's 2 incomes. She sold her home, and because we got a great price, we were able to break even. And now she bought her $250,000 home in Burbank with a pool in the backyard. So if I had asked her if she was pre-approved, maybe she would have just hung up on me, and that's it. And business would have been somebody else who would have shown them the dream. Then once they trust you, once you've met with them face to face and they trust you, then they allow themselves to be guided. Then they use your preferred lender. Then they use the lawyer that you advise, the inspector that you advise, and people, they feel comfortable with you because you're working to their best interest and you're also educating them in the process.
I love
and
it.
that and that's how my business has blown up.
Andres, that's awesome. So listen, we're coming close to our time of ending. One last question. So if there's an agent that's beginning right now, what is your advice to them?
To care for the person, to really care, and to meet them face to face, ideally for me at a property, understand what their needs are, and then deliver a great service, and guide them, hold their hand.
Yeah. So what it seems like to me is the key for your success in a lot of ways is relationships. You are not looking to qualify people so strongly without meeting them, and then you meet them and get to know them, and they like and trust you, and next thing you know, you have a relationship with them, and they're going to buy sometime, if not right away or whatever it is, but they get to know you and they get to like you.
They get to know me, they get to like me, and they get to see what they wanted to see.
And they get to see what they wanted to see, which is the house.
Correct.
Awesome.
So put it this way: our initial consultation is at the house, and we know nothing about the. We don't interview the client over the phone.
That is
The,
powerful.
the biggest golden nugget to be successful and not to be average is show up and show them the home, regardless of being or not being pre-approved, of being able or not being able to buy. They have a dream, they clicked on a property, they want to sell it. Go show them.
Go show them.
And then convert them into a client, you know.
So Andres, where can people find you? What's your web site? I'll put it in the link for the show notes, but if you just want to share that.
Yeah, they can contact me at 708-657-2173, or they can find me on Facebook as Andres Lozano Arciniegas, my full name. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, Andres, I enjoyed the first time. Oh, there it is. I love it. I love it. I love it. There it is. You always have one handy, don't you?
Yeah. And always tell people we're here to make it happen, regardless of being today, in 6 months, or in 2 years. We will make it happen, you know.
I love it. So, Andres, I enjoyed the first time we met, and I enjoyed this even more because we were able to spend more time together and able to hear more of your story. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing our relationship grow, and I wish you the best in 2020.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. Great job. See you.
Bye-bye.